Hello, welcome to another edition of the VOD Weekly News Recap. I am Glorious Haddjatou Njie. Good evening. Now let's look at the Gambia across our borders and international headlines. Seaside handovers aquaculture facility to Solicitor Federation. The government releases the TRRC white paper. Substantive democracy versus laissez-faire formal democracy, quotes Honorable Salah. African Freedom Day celebrates nutrition this year. Gambia hosts 3rd African Continental Conference on Curriculum. 3 arrests after alleged homophobic attack on foreigners in Senegal. Rwanda accuses Congolese force of cross-border shelling. 4 of 8 Myanmars trapped on the ground for 39 days found dead in Burkina Faso. Red Sea port of Swaki hit by major fire in Sudan. UGTT Union confirms boycott of president's proposed dialogue in Tunisia. Investors start to worry as Pakistan's IMF bailout not final. Deadliest US school killing in nearly a decade prompts Biden call for action. Gunmen open fire at hotel in Celaya in Mexico. Those were the headlines. Now let's look at the news in details. Monday, 23rd May 2022, CSAD EU handover $4 million is worth aquaculture facility project to the Solicitor Federation Women in North Bank region. The handing over of the aquaculture project was held at the aquaculture site in Kerewan, Riverside, North Bank region, and was attended by the beneficiaries, Governor of North Bank region, EU delegates, and their project manager. The project is co-funded by the European Union under Circular Economy in Sustaining Agricultural Development, and the project is implemented by the European Research Institute in partnership with the Agency for Development of Women, Children and the Najawara Agricultural Training Center. Evangelina Blanco, project officer of the European Union delegation in the Gambia, handed over keys to the store, pond and other materials to Fatou Jagne, president of the Solicitor Federation Women, receiving them on behalf of the members, while Lamin Seydi Khan, the governor of the North Bank region, presides over the handing over. Blanco, during her handing over remark, thanked the implementing partners and beneficiaries for inviting the European Union, saying it is an honor to be part of the ceremony to hand over the aquaculture facility to the community and that the project CSAD is part of EU's largest program funding in the Gambia. It is part of the big project of 20.5 million euros, which is $1.2 billion project called Agriculture for Economic Growth, Food Security Nutrition to mitigate migration flow in the Gambia. She added that it is part of the 11th European Development Fund located in the Gambia, and the project had 3 components. One of them is Agriculture for Economic Growth implemented by the FAO. 2 is school meals and disaster risk management carried out by the WFP, which the number 3 is the NGO component implemented by the NGOs through Action Aid, Action Against Hunger and CSAD project implemented by the European Research Institute. The EU project manager, Ansamba Jau, deliberates on the importance of the aquaculture project, which he said is very new in the Gambia, while she thanked the EU, ERI and local partners for continuing giving beneficiaries infrastructure amongst other things, and now full aquaculture facilities, and we are now handing it over for you to take responsibility, make it work and sustainable for the betterment of the community, he said. He described the project as first of its kind in the region, and it will bring a lot of benefits to the people of Kerewan and across the river. Mr. Jao called on beneficiaries to take full ownership of the facility and make it a sustainable venture, and he talked on the importance of the project as well as outlined some of the activities which CSAD project has brought to the region, and thanked EU for funding their activities and as well expressed gratitude to the local partners. The governor, Lamin Seydi Khan, disclosed that fish is scarce and costly in the market, and this aquaculture project is one of the ways to quickly resolve the issue of scarcity of fish and the escalating price. He, however, appealed for an expansion of the project across and beyond the North Bank region, while urged the beneficiaries to take full responsibility of the project to avoid failure. The government releases the TRRC white paper. Haddjatou Njie report.
The government of the Gambia on Monday, May 25, 2022, at the Sadaura Keraba Conference Center, officially released the long-awaited white paper of the TRRC report. The white paper report is 173 pages long and contains 600 paragraphs structured in a chapter according to the 17 diametric areas, in each chapter setting out a summary of findings of the Commission. In addition to the 17 diametric areas, there are separate chapters on reparation, reconciliation, and the Human Rights Commission and amnesty. Out of 265 recommendations made by the TRRC, only 2 were rejected outright by the government. The government accepted all the recommendations by the TRRC with regards to prosecutions, noble to the prosecution of ex-President Yahya Jammeh for a dramatic of crime committed between 1994 and 2017. The government also further accepted the recommendations of the prosecution of ex-Vice President Haddjatou Njie for her role in the April 10 and 11 students' killings, and further accepted the recommendation to deny her amnesty. The TRRC amnesty recommendations of Sana Sabali were as well rejected, and noted that although he might have made full disclosure and showed remorse, Sana is one of the individuals that bear the highest responsibility for gross human rights violations and in the early days of Jammeh's regime, particularly the ex-Jungula's killing of many soldiers on July 11, 1994. The other recommendations for amnesty besides were accepted by the government, subject to them providing witness testimonies to the prosecution of individuals recommended for prosecution. The government now said that they will set up a decentralized Peace and Reconciliation Commission with the mandate to promote peace, reconciliation, and fostering social cohesion. The government stated that the Arch 2022 shall be renamed the Never Again Memorial Arch in the memory of victims of Jammeh. We renovate it and erect a wall with the name of Jammeh's victims. Haddjatou Njie reporting for VOD.
The former Serekunda National Assembly member and leader of the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, PDOIS, Honorable Halifa Sallah, the PDOIS believes in sustenance democracy and not laissez-faire formal democracy. Honorable Sallah emphasized the need for Gambians to move away from a democracy type where you accumulate as much wealth as possible. They spend the money so that you mislead and buy people to go and vote for you to stay in power, which is very fragile and unreliable, as we have seen in 2016, but rather to move forward a type of democracy where the people believe what they do and put their heart in what they believe in. We PDOIS believe substantive democracy, which that may be small, but in our science, what is arising and developing is much stronger than what is disintegrating and dying, no matter how large or big. We believe the truth is rising and developing. The truth will shine, and sooner or later, the PDOIS leader said at the press conference on Tuesday afternoon. The world on every 25th May celebrates African Freedom Day to commemorate the founding of the Organization of African Union, created on 25th May 1963. This year's celebration is centered on nutrition, with the African Union theme for the year 2022 strengthening resilience in nutrition and food security on the African continent. Alongside the commemoration of the day is the extraordinary summit of the African Union currently taking place in the Malabo, which the President of the Gambia has left the Gambia on Thursday to attend the 16th AU Extraordinary Summit on Terrorism and on Constitutional Change of Government in Africa. The EU Extraordinary Summit will be held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, between Wednesday to Saturday, chaired by Macky Sall, current chairman of the AU. Health, climate, food and security crisis will be at the center of discussion. The Gambia's Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education hosted the third African Continental Conference on Curriculum at the Haddjatou Conference Center, which started on the 23rd to the 26th May. The three-day event was focused on education, technology, and curriculum alignment in the new era. Claudiana A. Cole, Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, in her opening statement, said the conference represents one of the much-needed strategies for Africa and its representative education policies, and hope that the conference will provide a platform where participants would explore the potential of technology and innovation to enhance curriculum processes and produce necessary for the acquisition of 21st century competencies, knowledge, and skills. Addressing the inequalities accentuated by the pandemic requires rigorous deliberation and coordinated efforts to align curriculum and relate processes for teaching and learning in the technological era. Achieving the quality education envisaged depends on sustained dialogue and collaboration to share findings supported by research, she stated. The minister stated that her ministry is proud to be associated with a platform created to enable policymaking, practitioners, and experts in the technological space to engage in dialogue on strategies to address the challenges holistically. Minister Cole then challenged the participants to discuss and find solutions to the challenges in the educational sector. Modu Jeng, Director of Curriculum, meanwhile said in 2008, the Gambia hosted a conference on curriculum that gathered educationalists and curriculum experts from various parts of Africa to discuss and interrogate the kind of basic education program for Africa that would respond to the development needs of the continent. Now let's look at the news across our borders. 3 men have been arrested in Senegal for allegedly being involved in a mob attack against a young foreigner accused of being homosexual. The attack occurred on 17th May in the so-called HLM district of Dakar. Videos posted on YouTube and TikTok showed an angry mob of men surrounding a young man in broad daylight, barefoot and wearing only pants, and slapped him on the back and head with homophobic slurs. According to the Senegalese news website Seneweb, the victim is an American musician who, because of his style and clothing, has been wrongfully accused of being a homosexual by ill-intentioned individual. He has come to Dakar with a friend and colleague for the Binal, a contemporary African act event taking place in the capital, Seneweb said. The victim and those with him were robbed of their phones and personal belongings, the site said. The victim has since returned home, a police source told AFP. When contacted by AFP, the US Embassy in Senegal did not comment. The attack came amid controversy in Senegal and France over Paris Saint-Germain football player and Senegalese international Idrissa Gueye, accused of refusing to join the fight against homophobia by wearing a rainbow shirt during a match in France. Alexandra, president of the Idaho France Committee, an association that helps persecuted members of the LGBTI community participating in Africa, urged on Monday the protection of homosexuals in Senegal. When you are LGBTQ today in Senegal, you are in danger because people want to take justice into their own hands. LGBTI people are fleeing, and not a day goes by without us receiving a call for help or assistance from Senegal, he told AFP. In this 95% Muslim country, homosexuality is widely considered deviant. Senegalese law punish acts said to be against nature with an individual of the same sex with 1 to 5 years in prison. Rwanda accuses Congolese force of cross-border shelling. Haddjatou reports.
Rwanda has accused neighboring Congo force for a rocket fire attack on their border, which has injured several civilians, calling on an urgent investigation into the incident. In a statement by the Rwanda army on Monday, the rocket landed in Mosaic district bordering DR Congo, injuring several civilians and damaging houses. The shooting occurred on Monday morning and lasted 21 minutes, according to the army. The situation in the area is normal and security is assured, said Rwanda Army spokesperson Colonel Ronel. Kigali said it has asked the extended joint verification mechanism, a regional body that monitors and investigates security incidents in the violated area Lake region, to conduct an immediate investigation. The Rwanda authorities have also contacted their Congolese counterpart about the incident, and Colonel Ronald said. Haddjatou Njie reporting for VOD.
The bodies of 4 miners have been found in a zinc mine in Burkina Faso after a 39-day search. 8 miners were trapped by floodwaters last month in the Canadian-owned mine in Pekua, located about 120 kilometers west of the country's capital, Ouagadougou. The floods followed unexpected torrential rains on 16 April. Since then, rescuers have worked tirelessly to pump some 165 million liters of water from the flooded chambers. It took the rescue team 31 days to reach the first rescue chamber, located at about 560 meters, in which the missing miners might have sought refuge from the flood water. But then the chamber was opened last week. None of the men, 6 Burkinabés, a Zimbabwean and a Tanzanian, were there. A second chamber is located right at the bottom of the 710 meters mine. In a statement, the government sent its condolences to the families of the victim and to the local community. Search operations are continuing to find the other 4 missing miners. The fire, which started on Wednesday on the docks of the Sudanese port of Suakin, a commercial crossroad of East Africa on the Red Sea, has been brought under control, its director told AFP on Thursday, indicating that an investigation has yet to determine the causes and the loss. Thanks to the intervention of the Civil Defense Force and port employees, the fire is now under control, said Taha Ahmed, director of this flourishing trading port under the Ottoman Empire, which was overtaken at the beginning of the 20th century by the construction by the British and Port Sudan, 60 kilometers further north. An investigation has been opened, he added, to determine the causes of the fire that completely covered the area of the port, located nearly 800 kilometers northeast of Khartoum, with smoke. While an AFP photographer saw huge walls of smoke on the docks where stored goods appeared to be at the mercy of the flames, a commission has also been formed to determine the losses suffered by the second largest port in Sudan. Sudan's Red Sea ports are the transmit point for imports and exports from Sudan, Chad, Ethiopia, and the Central African Republic, as well as oil from South Sudan. In late 2017, Sudanese dictatorate Omar al-Bashir, who has since left power, has signed a 99-year lease with Turkish President Recep Tayyip for Ankara to restore Suakim, known in particular for its lavish coral limestone building under Pharaoh Ramses II. Whilst renovation work on the historic building is underway, work on the port's infrastructure has not yet begun. Sudan has already lost 40% of the revenue in October when the International Committee cut off aid in retaliation for the coup d'etat by the head of the army, General Abdel Fattah. 2 days after the Tunisian UGTT trade union announced it would not take part in the national dialogue proposed by President Said, the Deputy Secretary General gave the underlying reason behind the decision. The Wednesday announcement comes after President Said appointed a lawyer to head a commission tasked with drafting a revised constitution through a national dialogue. However, all political parties were excluded, and only 4 organizations, the UGTT, the Employers Organization, UTICA, the Tunisian League of Human Rights, and the National Bar Association, were invited. The UGTT was part of the national dialogue following 2 political assassinations that rocked the country just 2 years after the revolution. Now let's look at the international news in detail. Without a bailout from the International Monetary Fund, Pakistan may default for the second time in its history. Soaring inflation, squabbles over fuel prices, a fractured political environment. For months, Pakistan has struggled to keep its economy afloat, raising the prospect that one of the world's most populous nations could soon follow Sri Lanka in a wave of potential global default. Investors are getting nervous. Without a bailout from the International Monetary Fund, Pakistan may default for the second time in its history as talks with the IMF conclude. Wednesday in Doha, officials acknowledged that winning a loan from the multilateral Latin might involve trade-offs, including the political tough decision of raising fuel prices. We are confident we will get to the finish line, Murtaza Zaid, acting government of the State Bank of Pakistan, said in an interview on Tuesday. The negotiations come at a time when citizens are battling Asia's second fastest inflation. Ulster Premier Imran Khan is poised to occupy the national capital with his supporters to force early elections with a barrage of financial stocks caused by the pandemic, Russian war in Ukraine, and rising interest rates. Pakistan is one of the several emerging economies facing debt restructuring. Pakistan is seeking the release of $3 billion from the IMF. That amount would augment the nation's foreign exchange reserve, which at $10.2 billion cover less than 2 months of imports. The government is stating at the $45 billion trade deficit this year. The bond market has been pointing towards raising concern. Pakistan's dollar note in 2031 have dropped about 14 cents this month, even after rebounding some Tuesday and Wednesday to 36 cents. Invest General view price below 70 cents on the dollar as indicating distress and an increased risk that borrowers may face future challenges meeting obligations if conditions deteriorate. Pakistan is in a tight situation, said Laz Yaqub, portfolio manager for Frontiers Markets Fixed Income at Corley's Frontiers Market AB in Stockholm. Fighting between the government and former Prime Minister Khan have complemented a path forward with the IMF in recent weeks. Khan's party, Pakistan's Tehreek, has pushed for elections a year earlier than planned in a bid to recapture power, and Khan called on his supporters to hold protests Wednesday in Islamabad. A gunman murdered 19 children and 2 teachers in the deadliest U.S. school shooting for nearly a decade, prompting Joe Biden to urge Americans to confront the country's gun lobby and pressure Congress to tighten gun laws. Authorities said Salvador Ramos, 18, on Tuesday shot his grandmother, who survived, before fleeing and crashing his car near Robon Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and killing at least 21 people before being killed, apparently shot by police. Officials saw the gunman, clad in body armor, emerge from the clashed vehicle carrying a rifle. They said he acted alone. The motive was unclear. In a televised speech, Biden, his voice raising to a crescendo, said, "As a nation, we have to act when in God's name we do what we all know in our guts need to be done." The Democrat Biden accused the gun lobby of blocking enactment of tougher firearm safety laws. He ordered flags flown at high staff daily until sunset on Saturday in observance of the tragedy. "I'm sick and tired of it. We have to act," he said, without going into specifics. Mass shootings have frequently led to public protests and calls for stricter background checks on gun sales and other firearm controls, common in other countries. But such measures repeatedly fail in the face of strong Republican-led opposition. The schoolhouse's second, third, and fourth grade children meeting pupils would likely have ranged in age from 7 to 10. "My heart is broken today," school district superintendent held to reporters late in the day, his voice quaking with emotion. "We are a small community and we need your prayers to get us through this." Hours after the shooting, police had condoled off the school with yellow tape. Police cruisers and emergency vehicles were scattered around the perimeter of the school ground. Uniformed personnel stood in small clusters some in camouflage carrying semi-automatic weapons. Gunmen have opened fire at the hotel in the Mexican city of Celaya in central Guanajuato state. Local media said at least 11 people have been killed and several more injured. Witnesses said a group of around 15 armed men stormed into the hotel at 22 hours local time, 3 p.m. GMT, shooting and throwing petrol bombs before also attacking at least 2 nearby bars. The security forces at the scene but have not yet issued a statement as to who may be behind this shooting. The city of Celaya has seen a spike in violence with a criminal cartel calling itself Santa Rosa de Lima involved in a deadly feud with its rival, the Jalisco New Generation cartel. The Santa Rosa cartel mainly engaged in extortion and fuel theft. Its former leader, Jose, was sentenced to 60 years in prison earlier this year, whilst his capture in 2020 was hailed as a major blow to the cartel. The battle to succeed him has unleashed further violence. That's all we have for you today. Until we come your way again, I am Haddjatou Njie on the VOD Weekly News Recap. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.